So till the time we can start it. So Namaskar. A very warm good morning to one and all. Our distinguished guests, my colleagues, my dearest students, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Dr. Sudhir Kumar Chaturvedi, faculty in the Department of Aerospace Engineering, and along with me, Professor Gurvinder Singh Virk, Dean, School of Engineering, welcomes you all at University of Petroleum and Energy Studies, UPES, Dehradun. I would like to quote three Sanskrit words, Adhigachati Gyarati Gata. It means learn, learn, and learn. At UPES, we follow the instruction of learning never stops. UPES envisions itself as an institution of global standing, which fosters development of professionally competent talent and contributes to the nation building. With such a vision in our mind, we had taken another leap in this journey, where we had started a webinar series that gives us a chance to interact with and hear from industries, some of the most prominent and renowned personalities of all the time. We have come up with another interesting session of webinar today on the topic Future of Aerospace and Avionics in Atmanirbhar Bharat. We at UPES Dehradun are delighted and honored to host today's webinar in the auspicious presence of a very famous Indian space scientist, Dr. K. Sivan. Dr. Sivan, Secretary, Department of Space and Chairman, Space Commission, has relentlessly worked in the field of aeronautical engineering, specifically in the area of launch vehicle technologies, for the past 37 years to make India self-reliant in assured access to the space. Born on 14th April 1957 in a farmer family in Sarakakalai village in Kanyakumari district, Kerala. He completed his primary education in Tamil medium school. After completing BSc Mathematics from Madurai University, he joined Madras Institute of Technology to pursue BTech in Aeronautical Engineering. Thereafter, he completed his Masters of Engineering in Aerospace Engineering from Indian Institute of Science, Bangalore, and PhD in Aerospace Engineering from Indian Institute of Technology, Bombay. He joined Vikram Sarabhai Space Center on 29th October 1982, and since then he played a key role in the design and development of ISRO's launch vehicle program. His major contributions are reviewing GSLV program after back-to-back failure and leading the flight testing of scramjet engines as well as the technology demonstration flight to reusable launch vehicle. Dr. Sivan is the chief architect of 6D trajectory simulation software Sitara and Day of Launch Wind Biasing DOLWB strategy for ISRO's launch vehicles, which are used in all ISRO's launch vehicle missions. The Gaganyaan program was approved under his leadership. A new vertical of human space flight was added into ISRO's scope of activities, and a new human space flight center was established at Bangalore for managing human space flight program. Dr. Sivan strongly believes that technology leaders for tomorrow have to be motivated and trained today. Yuvika summer vacation training program targeting high school students was initiated to motivate students to take up science as a career option. Dr. Sivan is a fellow of Indian National Academy of Engineering, Aeronautical Society of India, System Society of India, Indian System Society for Science and Engineering, Institution of Electronics and Telecommunication Engineers, and Indian National Science Academy, and many more. He has received numerous awards in recognition of his contributions. Some of the major awards of ISRO Award for the year 2016. Sri Hari Om Ashram Merit Dr. Vikram Sarabhai Research Award for the year 1999. ISRO Merit Award for the year 2007. Dr. Biren Roy Space Science Award for the year 2011. The Distinguished Alumnus Award 2013 from MIT Alumni Association Chennai. The Distinguished Alumnus Award 2017 from IIT Bombay, and Distinguished Alumnus Award 2018 from IAC Bangalore. Besides this, he has been conferred with honoris causa and many prestigious universities. Received Lokmanya Tilak Award 2018 from Lokmanya Tilak Samrat Trust Pune, Navyug Chanakya Puruskar from Hindu Economic Forum, Cochin, and Vigyan Ratna Award from Punjab University in 2019. Dr. Sivan has received international accolades for his contribution in space technology, viz. IEEE Simon Remo Medal from IEEE, 2020 L&D ML Memorial Award by International Astronautical Federation, and 2020 the very famous award in the area of aeronautical engineering, Von Karman Award of International Academy of Astronautics. Thank you, Dr. Sivan, for accepting our invitation. for the talk on future of aerospace and avionics in Atmanirbhar Bharat. Before I hand over to you, I would request Professor Virk to formally welcome at UPES platform under virtual mode. Thank you, sir. Thank you once again. Professor Virk, over to you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Sudhirji. Thank you for that. I think I would like to add my warm welcome to you, sir, Dr. Sivan, for accepting and sharing your valuable knowledge and experiences and how we're going to be moving in the area space. As you know, at UPS, we have quite an active aerospace engineering department, and the School of Engineering where I'm dean at is quite active in whole area of engineering, and we believe engineering has a huge role in also space applications, and we hope we can have some sort of deeper discussions with you and other colleagues. But for that and before that, we really look forward to your valuable wisdom and what you have to tell us this morning. So please welcome, thank you, and really look forward to what you have to share with us this morning. Thank you.
Thank you. So very good morning, respected Dean of UPES, Professor Gurvinder Singh, Professor Sudhir Kumar Chaturvedi, Department of Aerospace Engineering, the respected faculty of UPES, my dear students and other participants. It gives me immense pleasure to address you all about the exciting future of aerospace and avionics in the context of emerging self-reliant or Atmanirbhar India. I thank the organizers for this opportunity to share the progress of aerospace, especially space technology in the country, and provide a flavor of the forthcoming technical challenges towards the achievement of self-reliance. Sir, from time immemorial, humans have this nature of exploring the new frontiers and extend their capabilities, through which society has benefited and progressed over several centuries. The dream of taking to the sky is one of them, and the human passion, along with the continuous and often dangerous efforts of achieving flight, was rewarded when the Wright brothers achieved 12 seconds of liftoff in 1903. It is truly awesome that within a period of 16 years, in 1919, the first scheduled air service started operating, and air power was a defining strength in the two world wars. The slide shows some important milestones in the history of aerospace, specifically related to horizontal takeoff and landing, helicopters, and of course, the space flight. In the case of space technology, India was not too far away when it launched the first rocket from its soil just 6 years from the dawn of the space age. Since then, there has been steady progress towards new capabilities and self-reliance. Atmanirbharata has always been an integral part of the Indian space program, considering the strategic value accorded to the space technology by all nations, which often created difficulties in the exchange of technology. The only way forward is to elevate the national technological capabilities, and thanks to the vision of our forefathers like Professor Vikram Sarabhai, Professor Satish Dhawan, Professor Brahm Prakash, Professor Nilakandan, etc. India is a significant power in aerospace. The empowerment of industries, large, small, and ingenuity of the men, women of India have helped us to realize then Atmanirbhar infrastructure from near zero infrastructure. Today, we have crossed. Don't change, keep it. No, next you change. Leave it. Today, we have crossed 194 launch vehicle and satellite missions, including a few missions to lunar and interplanetary bodies. Our launch vehicles have evolved to be capable of multi-orbit, multi-satellite launches with a minimum capacity of 4 tons to GTO. PSLV, GSLV, and GSLV Mark III form our operational fleet of launches, which will be joined by the SSLV or the small satellite launch vehicle this year. And you can ask why that small satellite launch vehicle, which I will come later. Why Atmanirbhar in aerospace? Why are we aiming for Atmanirbhar in aerospace? Other than the strategic value, you can see from the slide that the global aerospace market is of the order of 340 billion US dollar, and India is the third largest civil aviation market. The global space economy is about 360 billion dollar, of which India's share is just 3%, which is a huge opportunity. This is the reason that the government of India has introduced a slew of reform in the space sector, allowing private players to tap this market by allowing them to build launch vehicles and satellites and also launch from the country. There are some salient features of the aerospace domain that makes it truly challenging. Aerospace is inherently multidisciplinary and interdisciplinary, and design teams must have a systems perspective for achieving success. Design features like automatic control, redundancy for fail-safe operation, and the stringent reliability are inseparable part of this domain. Capital-intensive test facilities to simulate the harsh environment conditions and modeling and simulation capabilities are also essential. Atmanirbhar in aerospace will accelerate self-reliance in this sector and also establish a culture of innovation and quality in industry. In order to give you an idea of the technological complexity, I will take the example of a launch vehicle. The various subsystems are the propulsion, structures, mechanisms, avionics, tracking, etc. Every subsystem and stage in the launch vehicle is expected to perform its function within a narrow margin to accomplish a successful mission. All efforts are made on the ground through the test facilities and mission simulations before inducting each system that undergoes several levels of qualification under simulated environmental conditions. The coming slides reveal how we overcame all the technical challenges and achieved Atmanirbhar in the critical areas, starting with propulsion. Our initial launch vehicles, such as SLV-3 and ASLV, were solid-propelled launch vehicles. Initially, we mastered the technology of casting smaller solid motors required for these vehicles and progressively scaled up to the large 139-ton and 200-ton solid motor being used in PSLV and GSLV today. We are the third largest motor in the world. For PSLV development, a program was concurrently initiated to realize our Vikas engine that has enabled us to be self-reliant in polar missions required for Earth observation and remote sensing. Spacecraft capabilities such as the 11 Newton and 22 Newton attitude control thrusters and 440 Newton liquid apogee motor for orbit raising of communication satellites were also realized and inducted. We have also realized electric propulsion system based on 18 millinewton and 75 millinewton stationary plasma thrusters for station keeping of satellite. In order to achieve the self-reliance in launching 2-ton class of communication satellite to GEO through GSLV, cryogenic engine technology was essential. We had to overcome several technological challenges to realize, qualify, and test this essential technology as shown in the next slide. As you know, cryogenics temperatures are not easy to work with. That I did not explain to you. You know much better than me. And we need the right materials for all the subsystems of the engine, such as thrust chamber, turbopumps, control components, seals, etc. The sourcing of these materials and systematic indigenization helped us in becoming self-reliant. These challenges in safely handling the propellants, high-speed turbopumps, and the fabrication process required special equipment, and ISRO underwent several trials and tribulations, including 2 mission failures before we mastered the technology for the upper stage of GSLV. This was followed by a high thrust version of the engine CE20 for GSLV Mark III. The ignition sequence, sensors, and the complex test facilities added more developmental challenges. As we aim for higher payload capabilities beyond 5 ton to GTO, we require more powerful booster stages. A development program for realizing and qualifying 2000 kilonewton LOX kerosene engine or a semi-cryogenic engine is already in progress, which will be inducted into the semi-cryogenic engine in future launch vehicle configurations along with an operated cryogenic stage. We have also commenced developmental activities towards environmental friendly propulsion system based on LOX methane and green propellants. Electric propulsion is another capability that is available only with a few spacefaring nations. After proving the lower thrust configurations in GSAT-9 mission in 2017, we are now in the final stages of realizing a technologically challenging 300 millinewton high thrust version, which will enable all electric communication satellites that will replace the chemical propulsion system and result in lighter satellites for the same payload. Or for the same mass, you can put a higher payload. This system requires special materials for the cathode and anode, along with large vacuum thrusters for prolonged testing of the thrusters. Atmanirbharata was also included as a requirement within the scope of this project that will result in the development of the materials and establishment of test facilities within the country. We would not have achieved the self-reliance in propulsion if we did not have the kind of sophisticated test facilities to test and qualifying this system. The static testing facility for solid motors at Sriharikota and the liquid engine testing facilities in Mahendragiri have played a vital role in testing and qualifying the respected propulsion system. These facilities were systematically established with the active participation of Indian industry, which are augmented in line with newer requirements. The commissioning of the first semi-cryogenic engine test facility in the country is expected sometime later this year. That will make the country capable of testing such high-thrust liquid boosters. The rocket-grade kerosene for this engine, known as ISRO-C, has already been formulated with the help of industry, and we are working towards production capacity in the long term. Now, as aerospace students, you all know that aerodynamics and structural analysis is a huge effort associated with the development of any air or space vehicle, and immense skill, experience, analysis, and testing expertise is a must. If we look at the capability matrix required for this area, we require expertise in aerodynamic testing and CFD simulations, development of thermal protection systems for ascent vehicle as well as the re-entry vehicles to mitigate the aerodynamic heating is another vital area. My friends, in order to support the enormous computations involved, high performance computing capabilities another requirement. The previous decades have improved upon all these areas systematically, and we have built enough national capacity to make India self-reliant in aerodynamics and aerothermal domain. The FEAST, you are aware, is an in-house developed software for structural analysis based on the finite element method, which is available for academic and commercial use. It is a DESI system against the imported system available. We are witnessing a growing community of users for FEAST as witnessed in the periodical user meetings. We have also established a hypersonic wind tunnel facility, which is the third largest facility after Russia and USA. That is being used to solve aerodynamic and aerothermal problems of future launch vehicles, including re-entry missions. This is an essential facility. This was extensively used for the test before the reusable launch vehicle technology demonstrator hypersonic flight experiment in 2016. A 1-meter shaft tunnel and a plasma wind tunnel facility have also been commissioned. We are in the process of establishing a 1.2-meter trisonic wind tunnel for meeting our future aerodynamic testing requirement. Indigenous CFD core for us, our parallel aerodynamic simulator, has been developed and are used in our program. Pravaha, parallel Reynolds averaged Navier-Stokes equation solver for aerospace vehicle aerothermodynamic analysis, is another CFD code under development aimed at self-reliance. A hypervelocity impact test facility is also being planned for studying the impact of high velocity space debris on the orbital space vehicle. A 450 teraflop supercomputing facility based on GPU architecture was commissioned, which is being upgraded to 2 petaflop facility to meet the computational requirements. My friends, a redundant and reliable avionics is vital to any space vehicle, which I need not explain, which is responsible for the navigation, guidance, and control function. This subsystem imparts intelligence to the whole system through the various sensor measurements and making decisions, often autonomously, and executes control the actuators that in turn controls the nozzle, valves, or other control surfaces. In other words, a continuous cycle of sense, compute, and control is being executed by the avionics to achieve the specific mission or flight in the case of aircraft. For the sense part, we need inertial sensors consisting of the gyroscopes and accelerometers to determine the position and velocity. The compute part involves the onboard computer consisting of a suitable processor with control electronics and motor drives to achieve actuation. A variety of sensor monitors the health of the vehicle and transmits the status to the pilot or mission control. The control can be through electro-hydraulics and electromechanical actuators. The mission software and the test beds to validate the software on the hardware platform for various mission scenarios is a vital component of the avionics system. Maintaining the control of in a multi-stage launch vehicle throughout the mission is particularly challenging as the lower stages are jettisoned during the mission. Achieving Atmanirbharata in avionics is very difficult owing to the use of imported electronics components and the lack of electronics component manufacturing in the country. However, ISRO has taken significant steps to mitigate this issue through a sustained and continuous program of indigenization. Inertial systems have received considerable focus since the early hours of years of ISRO, and we have a dedicated unit for inertial system that has been realizing inertial system sensors with improved performance with smaller mass over the years. We have evolved from the mechanical gyros to optical or laser gyros. The processor is a vital component for the onboard computer, and we have moved on the imported processors to the Vikram series of 16-bit and 32-bit processors that are in-house designed and made in India. The system software, including the ADA compiler, have been developed in-house, and the indigenous single board computers based on the 16-bit Vikram processors have been inducted in ISRO's launch vehicles. Continuous indigenization towards combating obsolescence, higher system integration, and miniaturization have been taking place in ISRO. Passive, active, and RF devices are progressively getting indigenized and inducted. Facilities for multi-PCBs and advanced device packaging have also been established and augmented. Lithium-ion cells have been indigenized, and now is a very interestingly this technology is being transferred to Indian industries for productionization in the commercial phases for making use in the launch vehicle. The semiconductor laboratory at Chandigarh has emerged as the only integrated CMOS device fab in the country that can fabricate devices for space applications, housing the wafer, fabrication, testing, and packaging facilities under one roof. About 25 types of space qualified devices have been delivered, and the slide shows some of the major devices developed for our space program, some of which have already been inducted. But at the same time, you have to see that this is going to be a major strategic the system which is going to make the country more self-reliant in the electronics area. And very interesting to note that taking the cue from this, now Government of India is really taking the electronics production at a much higher level, which makes the country real Atmanirbharta. That is a very good initiative, and we are putting the seed for making the avionics system in the country to be realized indigenously. Moving on to the materials, 35% of the cost of a typical launch vehicle goes to the materials. As you can see, various aluminum alloy, titanium alloys, special alloys, and steels are used for the hardware. India took the important decision to be self-reliant in marine steel for the early stages of space program, which is the workhorse material for the solid boosters in all our launch vehicles. We have also partnered with Indian industries and agencies to realize titanium and hafnium sponge that is a vital ingredient for the aerospace alloys. The significance of composite to achieve the lightweighting for improved payload performance is well known. In the latest passenger jets, the use of composites are as high as 50% compared to just 2% when these jets were introduced in 1957. ISRO has been widely using composites, examples of which can be seen on the slide. Even though we have achieved self-reliance in fabricating composite panels, the nation is yet to indigenize the high-strength carbon fiber material, which is still imported. However, the government of India is giving special emphasis to this aspect, considering the applications of this material across several domains. I'm very happy to note that the Indian industry really has come forward and making this the effort to make this indigenization effort to make this composite material. Now come back to the launch operations and tracking. A launch site is vital to the space program, and India is at the advantage of geographically due to the long coastline. ISRO has established 2 launch pads with 2 vehicle assembly buildings and other launch complex facilities to support multiple launches in a year. ISRO has established ground stations both within and outside the country for tracking launch missions and in-orbit satellite. The establishment of a multi-object oriented tracking radar in a recent capability, including a mobile version. Now, come back to the human spaceflight capability. In 2018, ISRO introduced a new vertical, human spaceflight, to develop and demonstrate the capability to transport Indian astronauts to low Earth orbit and back. This calls for enormous technological challenges and several technology demonstrations to realize the human-rated launch vehicle, orbital module, crew escape system, re-entry and recovery system, along with the crew training and systems for life support. The Gaganyaan mission has invigorated all the centers of ISRO and also the academic and national institutions to work on long-term and short-term capabilities to achieve self-reliance in human spaceflight. In the next decade, we are targeting several capabilities, including a heavy lift launch vehicle and partially fully reusable launch vehicle. In order to achieve this target, a series of technology demonstration missions are required to demonstrate critical technologies. For instance, ISRO has to qualify a reusable booster stage with multiple semi-cryogenic engine. A test vehicle based on existing propulsion system is being realized to demonstrate liquid stage recovery. In the case of winged body reusable launch vehicle, a technology demonstration mission was already completed to demonstrate hypersonic flight and simulated runway landing in the sea. The next target is to achieve autonomous landing through a drop test followed an actual orbital flight and re-entry mission. ISRO is also working on scramjet propulsion and have demonstrated supersonic ignition using prototypes mounted on a sounding rocket. Further research and development is in progress towards a scramjet research vehicle to demonstrate a flight of at least 250 seconds of atmospheric flight. Now, Atmanirbharata in spacecraft technologies. Not only launch vehicle, in the case of satellite, we have demonstrated specific capabilities related to microwave remote sensing, and S-band communication satellite with respect to the special antennas required for the spacecraft. We are in the process of qualifying a traveling wave tube amplifier or TWTA, which is a vital technology for the communication payloads and atomic clock, which is essential for navigation system, both of which have very few sources in the world. ISRO is also realizing a data relay satellite constellation IDRSS, which will provide support for human space flight as well as Earth observation capability beyond the vicinity of our ground station. Now, whether everything is done by ISRO? No, it is not possible. Very excellent system we introduced in the ISRO. We are not doing everything by ourselves. We are bringing Indian industry has been our trusted partner in all our space program. As you can see, more than 80% of the launch vehicle is realized. In the case of satellite, we have demonstrated specific capabilities related to microwave remote sensing and S-band communication satellites, including the special antennas required on the spacecraft. We are in the process of okay. We are in the process of the qualifying. You go. Next. It's okay. The technologies developed for the space program have enabled self-reliance in other domains also through spin-off. This slide shows a number of examples which have benefited other sectors. Now, come to that. When we have done everything, now where are we? Where is the spaceflight headed? Globally, the space sector is witnessing major disruptions in the advent of private players. The old workhorse launches like Soyuz, Delta, etc., being discontinued in favor of cost-effective, partially reusable launches. Along with the heavy communication satellites, small satellites are being adopted for Earth observations, satellite broadband and climate research. A lot of private players are realizing small satellite launches to commercially exploit the huge small satellite launch service market. Both the government and private agencies are targeting heavy launches for lunar and Mars missions. And really, the disruptive technologies are being developed in space. New manufacturing paradigms like 3D printing are finding uses in the space industry to realize the propulsion systems and even an end-to-end rocket. A data-driven system is getting evolved with artificial intelligence and machine language being developed for autonomous decision-making and near real-time space-based services. Cybersecurity is getting increasingly important, and potentially secure technologies like satellite-based quantum communication is a subject of global research. Commercial exploitation of mineral resources on other planetary bodies is also gaining interest, and capability development is also happening in these areas. And my friend, I can go on talk to you for long, but somewhere I have to come to the end. And definitely, this is some kind of my stray thought. And we have a whole opportunity for the youngsters and students and researchers to contribute for the aerospace and avionics system. And please come forward. You come, you give your brain, and I will give my power. So along with you, definitely we can make that India a global technology powerhouse. Thank you once again for the opportunity to interact with you all. I leave you at an insight into an exciting future in the aerospace and the space technology towards Atmanirbhar and wish you all the best in the year your future endeavors. Jai Hind.
Great.
Thank
Sudhir, will you moderate this, or did you want me to do something, Sudhir?
you. Can just thank, and we can have some live
Wow,
question now.
Dr. Shivan, that was a truly inspirational speech, and I'm as an NRI coming back to India after so long outside, I'm absolutely delighted to hear the progress that you have given us. How kind of India has now, as you mentioned, we are behind US and Russia. We are the third in the world, and I hope we are trying to be the first. So we will work towards that with you, and delighted to. Honestly, the young generation, I hope, will be equally inspired to hear your words and to join your challenge. I assume we will be able to take some questions if you are willing to take some.
Have questions, no problem. I'm ready to take some questions because another 5-10 minutes I can be with you.
Okay,
Otherwise,
perfect.
I after that.
Perfect. So Sudhir, will you just invite some questions, one or two? And while you're
Yes.
doing that, maybe I can ask the first one while Sudhir is getting ready. So please
Sure.
raise your hands, and Sudhir will just try to collect the. So I was kind of interested in your focus on self-reliance and the. I guess you're trying to create the supply chain for the space sector in a holistic sense. So how far are we in this kind of aim holistically, and how long do you think it will take for us to achieve this total self-reliance?
Definitely, that is that our self-reliance is that our in terms of technology development that is really it is, we have achieved, or at least we are very close to that maturity. And regarding the supply chain, definitely that we need to improve on this one. And surely that whatever that the new the space reform introduced by the government of India, it will be that very useful. The type of enthusiasm we are seeing throughout the country about the reform for making that the supply chain to be made it available and make sure that everything is done in the right way. I'm sure that very soon we can have, but at the same time that sometimes it may happen faster than what we are thinking. Sometimes it may get slowed down because this is a very uncertain area because of this a lot of risk involved, lot of the failures. Any mission, any item they are taking this which involve equal. Every success is having a equal percentage of failure also. The high risk matter, so definitely we will be able to come out of these things at the earliest with the type of that reform we brought. And but I may not be able to tell exactly what is the time frame, but I'm sure that it will happen with very early stage. That is our aim.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
You are not audible. Please unmute.
A lot of questions have started coming. So before that, just we would like to know about the program of Chandrayaan 3 and Mangalyaan 2.
Chandrayaan 3, that the program is going very well, and what are the deficiency we observed in the Chandrayaan 2 from the last phase of the mission. Now we understood that the corrections we have taken in the Chandrayaan 3. Now, right now, the Chandrayaan 3, it is now we are planning for next year, first quarter or first half, because that we need to wait for that the suitable launch window also to go to the Chandrayaan moon in that optimum way. So that opportunity is coming next year, first half. So we are waiting. And Mangalyaan 2, we are in the process of defining the project, and we are making use of that opportunity to give the opportunity for the students or the academicians and industries to bring that new science payload so that we can do it in a very effective way and utilize the features for the nation. Thank you.
What about Gaganyaan mission, sir? Some of the questions.
Gaganyaan is a very, very complex mission, and it is it is the biggest project that ISRO has undertaken ever. And this is the project. It is not only ISRO, and ISRO, industry, academia, other organizations in India, and international organizations, all should equally contribute. Then only the mission can be success. And it is going very well. And we have got the astronaut got trained in that global the generic training in Russia. They are going to come to India, and the design also in that in the final stage, and the realization process started. And we are putting all the efforts to have the first unmanned mission, because we need to have the 2 unmanned missions before flying the human. So this the first unmanned mission we are targeting by this year end.
There is one question: what collaborative measures ISRO is taking in privatization?
No, that for privatization we don't have any collaborative measures, because we can have a collaboration only with the equal strength partners. We can have collaborations with that our international space agency. We are equal; they are equal to us. And whereas industry, we have not reached up to this level. We are right now at present. We are making industry, enabling the industry to come to our level. And that is the process. So we are opening up the space sector. Once they have grown to that our level, then definitely we will be able to have a collaborations with them for making use of the products and other things. But some more time they will take to reach our level. Now at least the initial process is started. This one.
Like recently, we have heard the news of New Space India Limited and InSpace. So this is the you can say the future opportunities, or you can say the future projects for the India from ISRO side.
Yes, definitely. That is the future of that the perception of that the future space activities is now become changing. Which otherwise all the space activities are done by only ISRO. Now we are giving the equal opportunity for that private players also to do it. And they also can, we can share our technologies with the private people, and we are giving that opportunity for them to come and work. And we are offering our facilities to do it, so that we also we want to handhold them to bring them to that our level. So that in the process that the ISRO can be most of the activity ISRO is doing, that they can be offloaded to industry, and we can spend more time on that advanced research to take that India to the next level. That way it is that this thing is going to be useful.
Okay, sir, we have the Respond program in ISRO. So if we submit some kind of the proposal as a university, because we are the academicians, and somehow we have to do the research in the area of aerospace technologies, physics, flight physics, and other stuffs. So under the Respond program, like how we could be able to collaborate more or we can work very close with ISRO as a UPS and ISRO collaboration, something like that, if any possibilities in the future.
Yes, our Respond program is open to all academic universities and colleges. And only thing is that we are having the Respond basket also. And this we have proposed what are the new type of technologies. And whatever the proposal come from that universities or academias, we are really analyzing. And if it is going to be useful, that we want them to do that thing. And the Respond program is one program is very much open to the entire country. And if you are really doing the wonders, that you can do the wonders. And I could see that many of the technologies, whatever we have advanced or developed, It is based on that respond program's output. So definitely the respond that program as well as the participant of that respond, they can really do the disruption in the technological development.
Uh, so there are a lot of questions are coming. So Chandrayaan 2, what is your views on satellite missiles, anti-sat missiles?
See, that what I'm suggesting is that all that questions, please you forward to us. We can
Sure.
take a answer within our free time, because that I'm seeing that also in seeing the screen. The questions are flowing. This one, and
I think they will never end, sir. I think they will not end. So we probably have to release you from this. But I guess there is a clear interest in our youth in space, and we hope that there will be opportunities for us to collaborate and for the youth to be excited, as you clearly were and are still, and how we can contribute to this really worthwhile cause to start conquering space. So there were many questions about that, and I think this has got to be the next frontier for us. So hope we can work with you.
Okay,
I don't know if you want to make some. I don't know if you want to make some concluding remarks, or that would be nice.
Sir, just yes, okay.
Please go ahead.
Yeah, please you answer, sir. Then I will ask one interesting question.
Which question?
What Professor Virk has asked, in future we will be able to collaborate with ISRO.
See, what I'm telling is now that the system is very open, and we brought that the in-space mechanism to that academicians and industries to make use of our facilities and our make use of our technology expertise, and to bring a disruption in technology development. And so we are very much open. We are not like olden days. This is not like one way, and we also can help you to develop the technology. So it is like that way only it happened. So for example, that the last to PSLV C-51, that the satellite developed by the students, and there are a lot of help we have given. So that way we are we can make you to the handhold you to develop something new. So it is not that we will not leave you in this. You need not worry about that. You bring with the bright ideas, some innovation, that basic in the basic research. That is not a more. We are looking from the academias that basic research. You come into some bright ideas, and we will handhold you, and we will make you to work on this area in the technology, and so that we will not claim anything. We'll give the whole credit to you only, but we handhold. And you can show that is your research, your activity. This way we will make you to grow. We'll handhold. So this make use of opportunity and ensure that something new is coming for that India. That's what we said. I am expecting. I am ready to help all the way from ISRO, but at least I want to get some few CV Ramans from your institute. Some few institute. That's what we are expecting.
Dr. Shivan, that is very heartwarming, and I thank you for that. I think our students are clearly very motivated, and I think if we can work with you to, because I like your idea of the self-reliance, and we are of course trying to work very hard with our students to make them entrepreneurs, and we want to work with them. Maybe they will be able to do some small component development for the space industry and work with you. So I think if we can start, because of course the big stuff is very difficult for students, but by focusing on the small things that can support the infrastructure for space industry, a good thing for us to work in partnership. And how we can then work from the bottom up to help support the whole thing. So this would be, I think, a good thing from our side, that we can identify the small companies that we can maybe even encourage some innovation and maybe start developing some things which might be of interest to the space industry. So these are things that are coming to my mind after your talk. And if our students are interested, we will, of course, pursue them with you. This is, thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Just one question from the students' perspective. Dr. K. Sivan itself is an inspiration for me, for many of the students. So could you just brief out your journey from a village son, farmer son, to
Yes.
the ISRO chief? Just in in brief, we would like to see, because we have seen you during the failure of Chandrayaan 2 mission. It was not failure, it was the learning, and we saw you on TV with the Prime Minister Modi. So we were just delighted to know your inspirational journey in by your presence. So please, in just
See,
2 or
that
3
is
minutes.
actually that is this particular that question I used to face different occasions, and I can only say that what really happened this from that village to this become the Secretary Department of Space, and only some few things that I was able to recollect. When I was working in that along with my father in the field, I was not thinking about any space. I was not knowing that I will become an engineer, because I thought that I will become only another farmer. And the only thing is, when I worked to the next level, I was thinking about this. That is always that work, always concentrate your that full effort on whatever you are doing. That is one thing I learned. So you need not think about too much. You try to excel in the area whatever you are working, whether it's a farming or the schooling or this one. That when you are excelling that in your area, your work, irrespective of your position, you are excelling. Definitely, that will take you to the next level. Automatically, that will take it to you. That is one thing. And the second thing that I always during that my journey, I have seen that, and actually that what really happened was for me is a very strange thing. I never got whatever I wanted as my first choice. See, actually, that is that, that after my this college, that is that +2, I wanted to become an engineer, but my father told that you don't want to go to engineer, you go to the BSc. After going to the BSc, then I wanted to go to the MSc and other things, but my professor told that you go to MIT. After going to MIT, then I wanted to get a job, but I didn't get a job. Then I was forced to do ME. After ME, I wanted to go and join in that NA, that NAL or the URSC. I ended up with the VSSC. And in VSSC, I wanted to go and join in the aerodynamics area, the system where was my specialization, but I ended up with the PSLV. And the PSLV also, I wanted to do particular area, but I was doing the project management. So like that, if you are seeing that, it is one thing I learned. See, that is that it is life is not that what you want. Whatever you want, maybe that is something else. But that what I learned is whatever you got, how you are making that excel in that area, that will make you to this one. Sometimes that, like I used to think about that Dalai Lama's words. Sometimes you are not getting whatever you want. It's a wonderful stroke of luck. So I was thinking, if I was now thinking back, if I got into engineering after my the +2, if I got into engineering as my wish, my first wish, I would have retired as some civil engineer from that Tamil Nadu government in 55 years. But I am now doing the country. And like that, every year, place, if I got whatever I want, I would not have reached here. So that sometimes that whatever you are not getting is a wonderful stroke of luck, but you it is not like whatever you want to get, but how to make use of whatever you got is the most important thing. That is what I want to tell the youngsters. This one.
Brilliant, 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 brilliant. Very good. That's a truly, I think, great advice to anybody, not just only young people. I think anybody. So in every form of life, I think that's a life is what you get, not what you want. So it's great to have those inspirational words. So Sudhir, how did you want to close the session, or shall I close? Because dear sir is already late for his other engagement.
I'll just say thank you, and then we'll close it out. So,
Okay.
so thank you, sir, on behalf of students, faculties, and the external audiences. University of Petroleum and Energy Studies UPES, thanking you from the bottom of our heart that you have accepted our invitation. You have delivered us such a nice note, such a nice, you can say, presentation, and we are very much honored to have you today. So thank you so much, sir. Jai Hind, Jai Bharat.
Thank you. Thank you. It's my pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Okay. All the best. Thank you so much. Acha. Bye bye. Bye bye.